Hey guys, it's Ryan here from Off Grid Outfitters. It's been a little while since our last video and I did promise we'd do some videos about the Tundra. So we picked up our Toyota Tundra from Toyota just locally here around about February this year. So we've had it for about 8 months or so now. And I just thought it would come back with a bit of a video and some feedback as to my experiences with it, what we've liked about it, what we haven't liked about it, and answer some of the questions. So we've got some of that from everybody here. So we'll run through that now. And yeah, hopefully that answers a few people's queries and gets some more content out there. Right, our first question. So I've got here, hybrid thing needs to be explained, not keen on anything EV related. So I get that, I can understand the apprehension, especially in a four-wheel drive or something that you might use remote touring and that sort of thing. I can only talk from my experience with it. The EV thing, it's a hybrid, so it's a petrol motor first and foremost, and then it has an electric system that can back up the petrol motor. Two big benefits for that is just the torque. It's super impressive, the torque that this thing lays down when you're towing. So we've towed some big vans, we've done some big distances, and that torque is almost like an extra set of turbos bolted on. It just powers the thing through and pulls you up hills. And from my experience so far, awesome machine, awesome setup, fantastic torque, gearbox works fantastic, the whole thing seems to work harmoniously. Haven't experienced the downside with the EV other than in car park mode. When you're cruising around in a car park, an underground car park, it's pretty loud. So the EV noise, that humming of the EV motor is, I cop shit for it all the time from people and gets a bit of criticism, but whatever. It's a new era. I think it's a new way of going about it. It's a smarter way of going about it without having massive big diesel engines for what most people are going to need. So great fuel economy, whole bunch of benefits, yet to find a disadvantage other than that noise. What would you say quality of the Tundra is like compared basically in Australia here to the 200 Hilux and Prado? Awesome so far, and guys, this isn't a plug. We're paying for this thing, so this is just my feedback. Awesome. I expected there was going to be some issues with the conversions, like I've experienced in the Rams years ago. These things are converted by Walkinshaw in collaboration with Toyota, which is, I can only imagine, no small feat. Toyota are pretty particular, but no rattles, no vagueness in steering, no real idiosyncrasies or anything that annoyed me. Two things I've noticed, which I've fed back to Toyota, was the air conditioning controls. The master or the dominant control is still on the passenger side, so I'm assuming that's just an early, being one of the first ones, an early thing that they can update in the firmware. And the Apple CarPlay, the icons are on the passenger side, not the driver's side. Everything else, there's nothing else I've come across that's, I guess, put me off. They've done a fantastic job on the conversion. Walkinshaw and Toyota have credit to them. They've really hit it out of the park, I feel. Did you get your Toyota Tundra at Gregory Hills Toyota? Yes, we did. So Clinton's Toyota at Gregory Hills. We saw Joe down there. He was fantastic. The whole team are fantastic. Helped us out with this, primarily based on the fact that we do so much towing around the place and could actually genuinely test it. So if you want to order one, they're out there now. You can order them. Give Joe or give the guys down at the team down at Gregory Hills Toyota a call. Clinton's, they'd love to help you out. Mention the video just so they can join the dots. Again, I don't get anything out of it, but just good bunch of people. How long is the Tundra? I don't think it will fit a standard double garage of most houses in Australia. Looks much longer than a Hilux. You can look that up online. It is longer. It's I would say in a car park, in an average car park, it's probably sitting out 500 mil or so further than what I'd be used to in, say, like the 200 series. But it's a long car. That's one of the benefits. It tows fantastic with a long wheelbase. Probably not that much different to a Ram 1500 or any of the other cars out there. So you just got to weigh that up. Going to put a canopy on it? No, not this one. This one's, we've got this until February, and then we'll likely order one or keep this one, and then we'll talk about mods and doing stuff like that. But I've got some ideas around that. Awesome to see a Tundra in right-hand drive. Are these Tundras being manufactured straight from Japan? So no Tundras are made in Japan. All Tundras are made in Texas. So they're made in Texas, they're shipped over, and then Walkinshaw, like I was saying, do the conversions, and they use a bunch of Toyota parts to do all of that. So there's a ton of videos out there that explain all that. But the Japanese cars are things like your Land Cruisers and that sort of thing. So Toyota's a big beast. It's a worldwide company. They build, I think they're one of the largest manufacturers in the world, so they're not just in Japan. So here's an interesting one. I'm from Texas, and the Tundra factory is only 2 hours away from me. There you go. I thought the Tundra was sold in the US market only. So this, to my knowledge, is the first time, I could be wrong, but I believe this is the first time the Tundra is being exported, and certainly the first time it's being converted to right-hand drive. So I think it's going to be well received here in Australia, and based on my experience so far, I think it should carry well. Are they sending them from Texas? I wonder if they'll start production in Japan for the Oz market. So yeah, refer to previous. Tundra is made in Texas. I don't think that's going anywhere else. I don't see any reason why it would. Regardless, they are what they are. They're a fantastic product, and it's still a Toyota factory in the US. I want you to test if it can do a burnout. Yeah, righto, mate. No worries. You just have to take my word for it. Maybe Luke might have got some footage of it. Let's find it. Can you give us the GCM and GVM? So we can get it off the car. Problem is this car, I don't know if it's going to change. So I guess I'm a little reluctant to put it out there, just for sheer fact of the fact that Toyota, this is just one of the first, and Toyota might make some changes. So I'm going to leave that. I know the GVMs sort of falls in the same category as everything else. The payload, more specifically, was around that 700 or 800 kilos. So it's not a full 1-tonner, so to speak, but not many dual cabs are. But J-Max and the likes of those guys are no doubt going to have some GVM upgrade kits, and they're going to have all that sort of stuff. So I don't think you're going to drive one of these and tow 4.5 tonne without doing any work to it. I think you're going to need to think about suspension and tweak it to suit your own, requirements. So that's no different to any other car. Would love to see some day-to-day content as well, perhaps in a car park situation as a daily driver. That's fair enough. From here we'll go for a bit of a burn and park it in one of the underground car parks and get some footage, I suppose, and see what it's like. But it's nothing too exciting. They're just like the Rams and all the other ones that are out there. How are the rear view mirrors? Are they wide enough without having to attach towing mirrors, or can they put wider, like clear views? So clear views, I don't know if they have them. They are wide enough for what I feel is enough. I haven't actually measured it, which I might do, and I might try and tack at the end of this video. How wide that overall measurement is, because there's nothing online that tells you that from mirror edge to mirror edge how wide it is. But towing the van, it's much wider than the, it might only be 50 or 60 mil wider than the 200, but the mirrors themselves are quite a bit bigger. So I feel like I get away with them. You got the clip-on mirrors, and then maybe Clearview and those guys will bring out something, but I haven't seen anything yet. It's too early. Was curious why you are not using towing mirrors. Are the standard mirrors extendable, or are they wide enough to provide the necessary visibility for towing? So come and have a squeeze. They don't pull out like the F-150s or the F-250s, 350s or the Rams, but they are quite a bit wider. So the 200 mirror probably comes to, I guess, in relation to the body sort of here, and the Tundra is quite a bit wider already. So I would suggest that these things overall are going to be about 200 mil wider than the 200. And I'm only saying the 200. I know there's a 300, but I have a 200. I don't have a 300. So I can only compare against the car I've got. All right, so one of the questions was the width of them, including the mirrors, which you can't really find online. So I was interested as well, just to so if you can fit in your garage and that sort of thing, but more importantly, the width of the mirrors compared to, say, the width of a van. So a normal Wonderland or a Zone RV would be 2,300 or so wide. So we'll see how wide this thing is overall, and it'll give us a bit of an indication as to whether or not you might need extended mirrors legally or not. So, according to this, if I've got my thing in the right spot, so 20 overall width, 2450 I'm going to say, and then the actual mirrors themselves are going to be just under 2400. So 2450 overall wide from mirror to mirror on the outside edge, and a little less obviously from the actual physical reflective part of the mirror. So what I find is if you tilt the mirrors in a bit, you can still see straight down the side of the van. And I don't think you need extended mirrors, but of course, if you get them, they're going to come out even further and be even better again. So, do you know when these are going to be made available to the public? So they're available now. So you can go into your Toyota dealer and order one of these. So you can get the limited spec, which is what this is now. Order it rather now, and it's, I could be wrong, but I believe available from November this year, so 2024. And then they'll have a higher spec, likely the Platinum or something similar, coming in from 2025, second quarter of 2025. So, but you can go into Toyota, you can talk to them, they're not going to look at you weird, they can take your order now and they can move ahead. They've hit the green button on it and they're coming. So if you want one, don't muck around. All right, we've moved inside because we started to get rained on. Next question, with highway driving, touring without a van, what would be the range of the tank? Close to 1,000 kilometres, question mark. So my experience has been around that 12, somewhere between 12 and 13 litres per 100, just driving around town, not highway, just mixed driving. It gets down a little lower than that if it's on the highway, just by itself. I did a run down to Albury, and no, that was with the van on. No, so that was with the van on. That was 18, 19 litres per 100. But around town, like now, it says here 12.6 litres per 100. And that's just me coming to work and just a bit of a mixed bag of driving, not too much towing. I don't think any towing in that tank. And the tank's 122 litres or so. So yeah, you'd be right around about 1,000 Ks per tank around town, I would think. But obviously it all depends on how heavy your right foot is, of course. Any chance you can do a vid on the interior layout and size, say compared to a Hilux/VW? So we can, I guess the quickest and easiest way, everyone's seen a Hilux and everyone's seen a VW. We've got an Amarok in the fleet. And I guess the best comparison I can give you is I'm 6'7" tall. And I'm sitting in my driving position now, pretty comfortable. Hands on the wheel, everything fits just nicely. Now, if I get up and jump in the back, I can sit in the back at 6'7" and have probably 4 or 5 inches worth of room between my knees and the back of my seat here. So there's not too many cars out there that can do that. Even the Ram's a little pokier. Not much, just a little bit. The 1500s are all right. The 2500s are a different cab. But this is probably one of the better ones, and the F-Trucks, the F-250s are one of the better ones. So in terms of space inside, I would suggest that this is probably a good 200 odd mil wider than a Hilux or a Amarok. But the main thing isn't so much the width, it's more the fact that you can fit a full-grown adult in the front seat as well as a full-grown adult in the back seat. And we've had 5 in here, more than comfortable. I'd say if you had 5 full-grown dudes along the back, you'd just be touching shoulder to shoulder, as opposed to, overlapping in a Hilux or an Amarok. So, gives you a bit of an idea. 2 weeks ago, we got a question. So, any updates on your thoughts now you have tested the Tundra with the imminent release in November? Interested in fuel consumption and towing. So, yeah, like I said, so around town it says here 12.6, but towing, it's pretty comparable. I'd say it's even just a touch better than the 200. Big difference being that this thing has a ton more grunt, and I mean grunt. Everyone talks about diesels and the 200 and the V8 and the turbo diesel and all that sort of stuff, but the 200 has a 6-speed gearbox. It's a good motor. I love my 200, but it's got nothing on this thing in terms of just downright grunt and being able to haul off the line. And then this thing being petrol has got the legs as well, so it's really impressive motor and gearbox combination. And fuel economy wise, because of that hybrid drive, and just the fact it's a 10-speed gearbox and it's a well sorted motor, just the fact it's petrol doesn't mean that automatically it chews juice. That's reserved only for the Y62 crowd. It's a really efficient petrol motor, and in my experience, it's never ever got above, I'd say 27 litres per 100 on average, and that's towing a big van. And I would say it would normally sit on, let's say, towing a 3-ton or 3.5-ton van, it would normally sit around that sort of 23, 24 litres per 100. And that's a big van, that's a big wind sail, like it's a big block of flats behind you. So yeah, 12.6, and I would say work on doubling it when you're towing a big van. So it's not too dissimilar to the 200s and the other diesels that are out there. Righto, we've got a couple more to go. Can you tell how it compares to the new 300? So I've had a few drives, so we've got a few friends that have got the new 300, GR Sports and VXs and all that sort of stuff. I had a quick drive in the J-Max 300 when it was down as well. I love the cruisers. I love my 200. I love the 300s. This is a different beast. This is a longer wheelbase, different motor, interior-wise and drive, as in the comfort and the way they drive from a 300 to a Tundra are quite similar. But this is a bigger, longer, wider car, which has its benefits in terms of towing, and naturally you've got a ute tray you can fill with stuff, put some motorbikes in the back and that sort of thing. Whereas the 300s are, I think, probably the most versatile all-rounder. So if you're using it during the week, drop the kids off to school, go do some forward driving on the weekend, go down the high country with a swag on the roof, the 300's probably your pick. If you're a bit like me, you're always towing a variety of different loads, and then I'll go out to my farm and I'll have the dog in the back and a whole bunch of tools and whatever else. Coming out of the 200, that's the one thing I've really enjoyed in this, is having the versatility of a ute tray naturally, but still drives like my 200 that I'm really, really comfortable in. So it's, comparable, horses for courses, comes down to what you want to use it for. If it's your daily, all-round, do all jobs, running around town, and you don't have a massive need for the big tray at the back, and you don't tow big vans all the time, you'd probably get away with a 300. But if you're doing a lap of Australia and you're not going to go rock hopping and going looking for trouble in some of those more intricate areas, then this is probably the better setup. So I'm torn with the same thing. I've got the 200, and then I've got this. I can't decide. I'm sort of at the point where it's like, well, I would love to have both, but naturally it doesn't make sense. So don't know yet what I'm going to do. I guess if I was going to pick, I'm thinking I'd probably go a Tundra, but it needs a lift, it needs wheels, it needs all the stuff that I'd normally have, or I have on my Land Cruiser. But yeah, yet to be done yet on this one, because it's one of those initial units that we lease, we don't own it. So interested to see how it performs at close to 4.5 ton limit. Maybe you could borrow a boat. Yeah, I just haven't had time to get out and actually get it right up to that 4.5 ton limit, and the vans we haven't got anything that's that heavy. But we do have 3.5 ton, maybe just over 3.6, 3.7 ton vans, and I've towed those with this, and it handles it fine. So gearbox, steering, braking, engine power, torque, all that sort of stuff, exactly as you'd expect from any Toyota. But from any American truck or any, I guess, purpose-built tow vehicle, they all do it really, really well, and they handle it well. One thing I noticed with this is it doesn't rev and carry on anywhere near as much as some of the other ones do, given that it's boosted as well as got the hybrid assist. So the other experience I had with that was the F-150. It was similar, so that's a turboed petrol motor as well. Just seems to do it better than the naturally aspirated V8s. They just carry on and seem to work really hard, and the gearbox doesn't help them. Does that well. One thing I noticed with this is once you get up into those heavier loads, Toyota recommend over 2.7 or 2.7 and change ton. They recommend the use of load leveling bars, which in an off-road scenario can be a little challenging and not really recommended. So And that's just to counter, or from what I can understand, to counter the weight on the back wheels and push some more onto the front wheels. So there's merit to it, but it has its own challenges or restrictions. I've not used load leveling bars, and when I guess technically should have, according to Toyota. And the consequence of that is it's quite soft on the back. So it's like they know about it. They've got the load leveling bars as a guide there. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of reasons why they recommend that, and all very, very, they'd be warranted and for good reason. But if you're towing all the time and you couldn't use load leveling bars, let's say in an off-road scenario, then you would definitely need airbags or suspension or something in the back to help with the increased ball weight and just the weight on the back. But in every other aspect, it tows heavy loads like it's built for it. What is the service interval? So that's probably a good question. I actually think it's quite a bit longer. So I've pulled out the owner's manual here. And so we've got our first service. And it says here, first service was 6 months or 10,000 Ks, 12 months or 20,000 Ks. There you go. So it's 18 months so it's every 6 months or 10,000 kilometers. Whether that's just for these ones, I know there was some extra requirements for these because they're pretty interested in getting the feedback and all that sort of thing. I think we said we were going to do around 30 or 40,000 Ks in a year, which we've so far in 8 months done nearly 25,000 Ks. So we've done a couple of services and we dropped it off and given some feedback and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it looks like it's the same as my Cruiser. It's 10,000 Ks service intervals, so pretty normal. Does the Tundra have, I think it's called a fifth wheel hitch? So it doesn't have it standard. The bigger trucks, the 2500s and so on, come, or they can be optioned, and I think most of them that come here come fifth wheel ready, or you know, the hitch in the back of the tub is called a gooseneck or a fifth wheel hitch. So either one of those two usually comes set up in the bed, but not in the Tundra. So whether or not that's an accessory you can add, I'm not sure. All right, so hopefully that answers a whole bunch of questions that we got online. Apologies we haven't got this video to you sooner. It's just been pretty chaotic and we just haven't had a chance. If you've got anything else you want to know, we've got this until February, and we do intend on ordering one, but while we've got it, if there's anything else we can answer, we'll try and do our best to get something up there. If you're looking for, so our business, Off-Grid Outfitters, if you're looking for caravans, campers, hybrid campers, any of that sort of stuff, we're located here in Sydney. We have the full range all in our showroom, which is where we are right now. So we sell lifestyle campers and their full range, Wonderland RV with the full-size caravans, and now as well Zone RV, Queensland-based manufacturer, all of their vans as well. So we're here in Sydney. Come out and see us. Really appreciate everyone commenting, and it was great to provide some input. If you've got anything else you want to know, just hit us up in the comments. Thanks, guys.